Today's movie begins with a 13-year-old girl named Lily who lives in a Hungarian country and owns a dog named Hijan, who is not of pure breed. Because of the divorce of the father and mother, Lily is only comfortable with her dog, and he is the only person close to her. One day Lily was playing with her dog in the garden and her mother is watching her, and her mother decided to travel and live in America and leave Lily to live with her father Daniel forever, and Daniel works as a butcher in a butchery, and he has not seen his daughter since he was 3 years old. He loves pets in general, but he is forced to allow the presence of the dog for his daughter, and when Daniel goes to the building in which he lives with his daughter, the lady owner of the house that Danielle rents sees the dog and tells them that no animals are allowed in the apartment, and Daniel told her that he would get rid of him in the coming days and entered his house, and when she was eating Lily with her father, she did not want to hear his words and feed her dog from the food that she eats from. Her father is forced to put her bed next to his bed, because the room is small and there is no other room, and Hijan has a psychological condition that makes him worry if he is left alone, yet Daniel catches him and locks him in the bathroom. Hijan continues to bark for a long time and no one can sleep because of his voice, so Lily goes to him and takes her musical instrument and plays him a certain tune he loves, and the dog comes down after hearing the music and sleeps, and Lily sleeps in the bathtub to stay close to him, and on the second day they wake up to the sound of the doorbell, and a man follows the foundation for the care of street dogs is the one who knocks, and he tells them that someone complained about a dog barking all night long. Daniel tries to lie and tells him that he does not have dogs in the apartment, but Hijan appears and the man sees him and tells Daniel that he will be required to pay a large amount imposed by the Hungarian government regarding the dogs. Daniel gets angry because he doesn't want to pay money for a dog he doesn't even want, and Lily goes with Hijan for music class because her father doesn't want to leave the dog alone in the room. And I learned that it is forbidden to take pets to music lessons, so I decided to hide them in the musical instrument locker. But when the band started playing, Hijan got scared and came out of the closet. The teacher became angry and ordered Lily to get rid of the dog, but she did not hear his words, and she came out of class, and when she was walking with the dog in the street, Daniel stopped them while he was angry because the music teacher called him and told him what happened, and Daniel decided to get rid of the dog by any way. He asked Lily to take Hijan to the dog shelter, but she insisted to stay with her. So his anger increased from his daughter's stubbornness, so he caught the dog and kicked him out of the car. Lily cries and gets out of the car and asks her father to return her dog, but Daniel forced her into the car and he drove off with the poor dog running after them because he didn't want to leave his girlfriend, and Daniel is getting faster and Hijan couldn't catch up with them, and he stayed in his place for hours waiting for his girlfriend Lily, but Lily didn't promise you because of her father. Lily wakes up at the end of the night from sleep and prepares to run away from the house to look for her dog, but her father sees her and orders her to go back to her place. Hijan wakes up after sleeping outside and he started looking for something to eat, and he saw the body of a dead animal on the ground. He is so hungry that he thinks of eating the corpse, but he can't. He started walking through the city streets until he reached a meat store and he started watching the meat offered for sale while he was starving. Hijan saw a homeless white dog and walked behind him until he got to the backyard of the meat store, and he saw many homeless dogs. She eats leftovers, and dogs bark at Hijan as he tries to eat leftovers with them, so the butcher heard the dogs' sound, so he expelled them all, and because Hijan is a pet and is not homeless, he did not move from his place. He was not afraid of the butcher, so the butcher got angry when he saw the dog not wanting to go, and he took a sharp instrument and wanted to hit Hijan, but the white dog attacked him. Hijan ran away quickly at the right time and the two dogs ran together and reached a pool of water. All the homeless dogs in the area are drinking from it, but suddenly the dog police come and arrest them and locked them in cages. Then Hijan and his friend fled, and the police chased after them, and Hijan started running in the streets until a homeless man rescued him. And after the police left, the man tied Hijan to a rope and kept it. Daniel goes with his daughter to a music class and asks her to apologize to her teacher for what happened yesterday. After class, Lily goes to the place where they left the dog without her father's knowledge, but she does not find Hijan. Lily started looking for him everywhere in the city all day long, but to no avail. She printed out pictures of her missing dog and pasted them all over town. At night, the tramp sells the dog Hijan to those who deal with dogs in wrestling, and they tie him with chains and put him with the rest of the dogs in the shop. On the second day, the merchant goes to a customer named Sapolex wants to buy a dog for a dog wrestling championship, and the dealer tells him that Hijin is not fit to fight because he is a pet, but Sapolex was determined and decided to buy it and gave him sleeping pills to make him sleep. He carries it and takes it to his house, and he made a mixture of protein powder and presented it to the dog with milk to drink, and in order to make the dog fierce and dangerous, Sapolex always beats him and treats him violently, leaving Hijin trapped and hungry all night long. And the only time he gets out of the cage is when Sapolex wants to train him to fight, and when Hijin doesn't hear Sapolex's orders, he hits him so cruelly and mercilessly, and Hijin is living in tragedy. And Sapolex's method of training the dog every day is more difficult than the day before, and the pet dog is no longer the same as it was, and Hijin turned into a fierce and dangerous dog, ready to fight in the arena, and Lily is still looking for her dog and goes to the dog shelter. She asks the owner of the shelter about her dog, and tells her that the dog may have died from an accident or from a fight with another dog on the street. Lila became very worried about her dog, and her day got worse when she wanted to ride her bike and found a thief who stole it. And at night, Sapolex and Hijin go to the dog fighting championship, and the rules are for the dog to win in the ring, and the losing dog dies, and spectators bet the dog's life and win a lot of money from the bet. And when Hijin's turn came, all the people thought Hijin would lose and spoke to Sapolex sarcastically. But the Sapolex trained the dog well, and the battle began between Hijin and another Rottweiler, and after a fight and violent confrontations, the two dogs were injured and bled. But in the end, Hijin managed to eliminate the Rottweiler and win the match. A dog dealer saw what had happened and wanted to buy Hijin from Sapolex, but when Sapolex refused the offer, he wrestled with the dealer and suddenly the power went out. Hijin seized the opportunity and ran quickly from the spot and began to run all night as far as he could get, far from the dog dealers. Lily also ran back home after her bike was stolen. She saw her music classmate named Peter, and Peter was on his way to a high school student party. Lily asked Peter to join him at the party, and Peter was hesitant and didn't want to go with her, but in the end, he decides to take advantage of her and grab the drugs for him so he doesn't get involved, and asks Lily to put the drugs in her pocket. I went to the party with him, and everyone at the party is older than Lily, but she doesn't care and sits in a place watching the students dance and drink alcohol. At the end of the night, Lily felt tired and fell asleep on the floor. On the second day, the police arrived and stopped the party, and Lily was arrested for drug possession. I went to the police station and they did a test on her, and it turned out she didn't do drugs. The police let her go home with her father, Danielle, and who started crying for the first time in his life in a while because he was worried about his daughter and found her fine, and because he was worried about her all last night, and he apologized to Lily for losing her dog. He promised her that he would buy her another dog, so Lily forgave her father, and she went home with him, and the relationship became between them much better. And Hijin goes to the pool the next day. He met his white dog friend again and took the two dogs together playing on the pond bank, and suddenly the dog policeman appeared and arrested them. He locked them up in a kennel, and Hijin was injured due to the fighting in which he fought before, and his wounds are being treated in shelter. Dogs and put him in a cage with several homeless dogs and put them to eat, and all the dogs were eating their food except for Hijin, who didn't even look at the food. On the second day, people entered the shelter to find dogs for adoption. When the dog girl saw Hijin, the dog Hijin began to bark at her and deal with the staff with fierce and aggressive behavior, so the lady owner of the shelter decided to kill Hijin because he poses a danger to everyone around him, and then orders an employee to carry out the task. Lily with a band in a show playing instruments. Daniel was in the audience to encourage his daughter to perform, and at the same time Hijin was on his way to be put into a huge cage with several other dogs, but he began to attack the employee, who grabbed him and pounced on him, and he bit him from the neck and killed him, and the rest of the dogs came out of the cage and they ran after Hijin. Because it was Hijin who freed them, the rest of the dogs decided that Hijin would be the leader, and when the lady of the shelter tried to stop them, Hijin ran up to her and dropped her to the ground and managed to escape with the rest of the dogs. Dogs run in the city streets. Chaos is everywhere and people are running away when they see the dogs, because the dogs attack anyone they see in their way, and the dogs reach the hall where Lily plays with her musical team, and dogs surrounded the stage everywhere. The audience was afraid and gathered in one place. The show stopped and everyone was afraid of what was going on. Lily feels that Hijin is with the dogs, so she goes off the stage to look for him. Peter worried about her and warned her not to go out and approach the dogs, and he went out after her after she did not hear his words, and a man saw her while he was afraid and warned them all not to get off or get out of the place because the whole city is in danger. But Lily does not listen to their advice and got on her new bike and started roaming the streets of the city completely empty. Lily tries to find Hygan, and thinks that if she finds him, she can stop the chaos that is happening. Suddenly a large herd of dogs runs after her, and Hygan falls off her bike. The dogs go through their conversations, but they ignore them because they are on another mission. So it turns out that Hygan is the one who directs them to take revenge on all the people who have wronged him in the past. Hygan found the person named Spolex and started looking at him and then attacked him. A herd of dogs joined him and started biting Spolex until he died. The place became full of blood. And when Lily went to Spolex's place, she did not find the dogs, so the police caught her, and when you put her in the car, she managed to escape and got on her bike again. I started looking for Hygan, got to the meat store and found the butcher lying on the floor, the same butcher who tried to kill Hygan previously. Lily called her father and asked him not to leave the house no matter what because she was afraid for him. He also became concerned for his daughter's safety. He did not hear her words and went looking for her. The security forces appeared and started shooting dogs in the streets, killing a large number of them. But their numbers are constantly increasing because of the street dogs joining them, so they went to the merchant who sold Hygan and killed him, and Daniel became their last target. So Lily went to her house and found the lady of the house dead on the ground. So she was afraid and ran to her apartment and knew that Hygan's target was Daniel, and she knew that her father's life was in danger. She returned to him on the stage, and Daniel's joy when he saw that his daughter was fine. But suddenly Hygan appeared and approached Lila, but it was clear that he had forgotten her after everything that had happened to him, and he was looking at her. When he looked at her, the rest of the dogs joined him, and when they prepared to pounce on her, her father took a stove and started trying to get the dog's attention in order to save his daughter. So Lily took the trumpet and started playing the tune that Hygan loves. All the dogs sat on the ground listening to Lily playing. At the end of the movie, Lily sleeps on her stomach and her father joins her and sleeps next to her. If you like the video, do not forget to share it and subscribe to the channel to support and encourage us to publish more, and thank you for following.